Okay, so we're going to do these next two elements together, just to give you kind of an idea. Radio and movies, and then, the Harlem Renaissance, with all that music coming into play and all that literature being produced or created, all kinds of goes together. So describe the impact of radio and movies as a unifying force in national culture. Now, we're talking about a time period where, people are pretty well spread out, but the one thing that brings them together, they all share, is radio and movies. They're all watching the same thing. They're all hearing the same message. So it does unite the people. National culture is one of your vocab terms. And the period after World War I marked the beginning of mass media. Media, radio, movies, newspapers, anything that gets out to the masses or the entire population. Okay? Radio and movies showed people, showed individual citizens what people were wearing, what activities they were engaged in across the country. And it was something that they could mimic. It was something they could take part in, something they could be a part of. And so it does bring people together when they can all be a part of the same thing. But a national culture are the norms, the behaviors, the beliefs, the customs, the values that are shared by a population of an independent nation or a sovereign nation. Okay, it refers to specific characteristics such as language, religion, ethnic, and racial identity. It's your cultural history and traditions. And I want you to think for a minute, what is the national culture of the United States? It's a really hard thing to answer. But think about other countries. Think about Mexico. Think about Brazil. Think about Canada and France and England, and what kind of beliefs and customs and values are shared by those populations of people. Okay? What do they have in common with each other? Their citizens with themselves. So with radio, first used to broadcast election results, but after World War I, they're going to start broadcasting music, sporting events, and even the news is going to be nationally broadcast. So people can share in what's happening on one end of the country to the opposite end of the country. Okay? Advertisers are going to use this opportunity and jump into this as well. They're going to advertise products. They're going to advertise events. They're going to advertise candidates for office and things like that. And then you have your movies. Look, movies weren't what they are today. The first movies were silent. You had to read some captions and watch somebody dance across the screen in black and white. Eventually they'll start to add sound, and then they'll start to add color to those. Okay? My goodness, just look at the difference in movies from 20 years ago to today. Okay? Watch something like Jaws, and then watch, what's that? Some of the Marvel movies that have recently come out, and the special effects and how much that's changed. Okay? Your conservatives versus your liberals. When it comes to movies and radio, conservatives are going to disapprove of movies at first because they're going to think that they are an immoral influence. But eventually they'll start to come around. Liberals are going to see it as a way to spread ideas, to unite the people, to bring them together. Okay? And then you've got, element E, describe the emergence of modern forms of cultural expression that's going to be seen in the movies, that's going to be heard on the radio. Look at the origins of jazz in the Harlem Renaissance. And this is a huge deal because this is a time period where, you've got African Americans across the country are drawing on their own experiences, and they're bringing to light new forms of music and new forms of writing that's going to open a lot of people's eyes to a group of people and their experiences that they've not or they've never really paid attention to. Okay, so during this time after World War I, this time period, when it comes to cultural forms of expression, literature and music, mostly literature, it's the theme is going to be alienation and disillusionism. Being disillusioned, like we thought that life was one thing, and we're starting to see reality. We're starting to see what's really happening in society. Our eyes are being opened. Okay, so the Harlem Renaissance is one of your terms. It's incredibly important to know because this is really a time where Black culture kind of explodes. Like we get to see Black culture in the movies. We get to hear it on the radio, and it's something that people ignored for the longest time, didn't listen to. Okay, so some of the examples that you're going to see, this is Marcus Garvey, a nationalist, wanting to see blacks move away from whites, get back to their roots. This is, let's see, Louis Armstrong, jazz musician. And then some of your literature writers are going to be Langston Hughes, and I'm sure you've heard some of his poems before, read some of his poems before. And W.E.B. Du Bois. They're really going to talk about the life of blacks and African Americans in the United States and what they've experienced. And this isn't something people have read before, so it's really going to open a lot of people's eyes. And with families' incomes rising slightly in the 1920s, people are looking for entertainment sources. So radio stations and movies are going to make more money, and advertisers want a piece of that pie. They want a piece of that profit. Oh, there's a video here. So when you go to Teams and you pull up my video or my PowerPoint, there's a video in here of Louis Armstrong. No, Duke Ellington and and they're singing, and it's beautiful. Okay. So I really wanted to share this with you because I feel like this is something that you've probably heard before at some point. But during the Harlem Renaissance, Langston Hughes was one of the most important writers of his time. Here's a picture of him to kind of give you an idea and a point of reference. But here's his poem about dreams, okay? Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow.